What's up guys, this is me Polarstar from Polarstar Games, and today we're doing a quick video, and before I get started, just gonna mention I'm in a new room. There's absolutely no sound dampening at all, and it's very echoey, so I'm not sure if that will translate to you guys' side, and I don't have much of a voice today, so without further ado, let's get into my overview and review of the Jack unit itself. We will not be talking about performance. We will just be talking about how the internals look, how the machining is, and I expect nothing less than spectacular from Polarstar. And I will mention that I did have one issue. I think 4 people total out of like 350, 400 people had this. They had a nozzle issue where the internal diameter of the nozzle in what you call the donut were not matching properly, and the engine would basically spew air out. They sent me a new one. It was to my house in 2 days. I had absolutely no issues getting the help I needed. So I highly recommend using going to Polarstar for your HPA systems. I'm not gonna say don't go to Wolverine. I'm not afraid to mention names here. They seem to make a pretty awesome product. I really wish I could get my hands on one, but I just do not have the funds. If you guys would like reviews on them, I guess you could pay me to get one if you want to. I think it'd only take $3 from all of my viewers to get me one. And if you guys were to pay for it, I would do a giveaway after I play with it for a while and break it. Hopefully not break it. So what I'm going to do now is just take the Jack unit out of a G&G body. This was a G&G GR4 G26. Forever. The only reason it is in this gun is because I had nothing else to put it in when they sent me the review unit. So just bear with me a moment while I struggle. I also apologize for the kind of weird angled camera. I could not find my tripod, so I'm actually using my old face mask that I use for playing close quarters. Yeah, it is definitely not an ideal setup at all. I have a nice little tripod that I can get some really nice footage with, but I was unable to find it. Almost got it here. Got it. Okay, so there are just 2 screws down the grip you take out. Then you got your body pins. Go ahead and remove those. Be sure not to force the knurled end of your flora pin, which is this guy, above the trigger, also known as a trigger pin by some people. Don't ream the knurled end through the gearbox. I actually did that to my Fusion engine and kind of messed it up a little. Works perfectly fine, but as you will notice, my airline is coming out the back. For the G&G GR4 G26, I just had to file it out a little bit. Actually, I milled and then filed. I had to do a little bit of milling on it. Easy stuff. So now you'll take your torque, or it's hex, I'm sorry, it's not torques, it is hex. Find one that matches right nice. Once pick it up. Go ahead and remove all of your gearbox screws. Be careful not to... I'm gonna mention this before we even start putting it back together, but never cross thread. Always spin your screws backwards. In fact, just let me bring this back into view. Let me demonstrate. when you're turning backwards and after it's already out of a thread, turn it backwards some more and you'll hear a click. Right there. That's how you know your threads are aligned and you can go in without cross-threading. And this camera angle is really bothering me. I will put a little annotation up just in case you want to skip all of this. I just know somebody will complain if I don't do it. So I figure I'd take 5 minutes and do it. Now hold down on your trigger. That way it doesn't pop out like that. And possibly damage your trigger unit. Sometimes you'll get stubborn screws that thread in just a little bit. Go ahead and lift it off and set it off to the side. Set your trigger off to the side. And here you have your jack. To unplug it, there is just a little 2-pin JST. You can pull on the wires. I don't recommend it until you work it out a little bit and get it a little bit looser. Here you have your trigger mechanism. Bring that up closer to the camera. You'll see your switch. I'm not entirely a fan of a switch. It has... oh, it screws this. It has absolutely zero response to it. Like on a fusion engine, you can feel a click of a micro switch. You don't even know this one's actuated. And the screw's loose. Throw that down. You don't have to crank down on it, these are fragile. To an extent, anyways. Gonna go ahead and set that off to the side, and now we have our jack unit. As you can see, I have mulched my airline pretty good. Now, I'm going to replace that with a amped integral grip line for the Polarstar, the Piggle. You can see your solenoid here in the rear. This is a single solenoid design. They even have their logo engraved on them. I don't know if you can see that. You will go ahead and unscrew this guy. Your front cylinder. That'll come out. I will not be lubricating because I'm already full of lubricant. Here you have your nozzle. Nice tight fit. Set that off the side. Okay, so let's start talking about the quality while we're getting into it. The nozzle is plastic. I don't like that. If there's one thing I believe Polarstar did wrong, and it's working just fine, I have well over 10,000 rounds on this, absolutely nowhere. You're not gonna have any issues with it. I just like aluminum nozzles. That's just me, it's my preference. Does it mean anything? It's negligible. If you have nozzle misalignment, it's gonna wear down really fast because it's made of Delrin, white Delrin, I believe, which is a, I believe it's a natural kind of plastic thing. It machines really well, very cleanly, and that's why you can contact Polarstar, and I think for 35 bucks, they will make you a nozzle for just about any gun that you need it for. It does have 3 O-rings going across it. Those will take most of the wear from the nozzle. And here's that donut I was talking about. Just pull that out. And you have the pressurized cylinder. Obviously not currently pressurized because it's not atmospheric. Then, I forget what they call this guy. I can pop him out. The top is sharp, I just almost cut myself on it. We'll just call it the air pin. I don't know why, that's just what I'm gonna call it. I honestly cannot tell if Polarstar makes these parts in-house or not. I would expect them to because they seem to have the machinery to do it, as they are a machine shop. Very nice machine shop at that. It almost looks cast to me. Like, injection molded? Trying to tell. Usually if it's injection molded, you can see a, casting line where the material goes around it and then meets. Where that material meets, if the mold will not be perfectly heated, and if it can be pretty well heated to the point where you don't really see this, but you get a little crease line where the colder material connects together, but it doesn't completely interconnect, I guess you could say. It still meshes though. And I'm actually not seeing that at all here. But I'm also not seeing machining marks. You know, maybe there are machining marks. It's actually kind of hard to tell. Yeah, I think it's machined. Okay, I was going to go and say that this is MIM, which is metal injection molding. Or, I'm sorry, sintered. I was going to go ahead and say it was sintered, which is where they take metal dust, compact it, then heat it up until it basically melts together. But it's not sintered either, I don't think. I'm going to go with machined. I just don't know if Polarstar is doing it. I could be totally wrong on that, guys. Those could just be marks from the mold. I'm not sure. It's also not very shiny, but that also depends on the grade of aluminum. They have a nice little brass nipple on the end. Very, very tight fit. I think you actually have to heat the airline to get it on and off. It's the 6mm macro line, I believe. Or I'm sorry, 4mm? 4x1mm. Okay, 4mm ID, 1mm wall. So I think that would actually make us 5mm macro line. The solenoid, let me see if I can get a good look at what it is. It's a 5-volt solenoid. F15. I'm actually not familiar with this solenoid. 42 200 psi. It's an impressive little solenoid right there. It actually looks like it threads, yeah, it threads into the actual engine. The macro line, just macro line, is kind of crappy, but no reason to go into detail there. I did crease it, and that will minimize airflow. But I'm using an ARX20 industrial regulator, which it gives you plenty of flow. Even on an SLP tank, you get plenty of flow. Not sure what else to say it is. This little screw right here. I'm going to assume that there's actually a channel inside of this aluminum, because that's what these are machined from. It's aluminum, then they get it anodized, and then they laser engrave it. And that would be the oxide it reveals. Or actually, not really an oxide, but it actually eats a little bit of the aluminum away and leaves it almost frosted looking. It looks really great with the black anodizing, which is the anodizing is just a colored oxide layer that you get on aluminum. Obviously, these are machined. The actual body of it, it's machined. You can see all of the marks from the end mill going around. I love that look personally. In fact, I meant to have them send me one that wasn't anodized yet, just with the straight aluminum, because I love that look. Anyways, what I was getting to with this is they actually had to mill a channel outlet down through here, and then they had to plug it somehow because air would escape, which is exactly what I see happening. Or I don't see air escaping, but they put this guy in there to plug it. You see this a lot in steam engines. Older steam engines where they had to mill out the valve chest, and then, okay, you have this big hole that steam will come out of and the engine won't get any, so you put a big cap over it, or you thread it in with some Loctite or whatever. They wouldn't have used Loctite then, that's more model engines. These are, for the connector, you have, oh, there's also a non-biased solenoid, I believe. Some solenoids actually do have a polarity. There's hysteresis and stuff with that, and it's kind of, I'm not going to get into it, I don't quite understand all of that. But I will not be getting into any of that. I think these are JST S series. I might be confusing two different connectors there, but I know that these are JST. Like I said, guys, I'm doing not really an in-depth review, but I guess more of an analysis of what makes this thing chooch. You can see back on the inside, or at least I hope you can see, can bring the lighting closer. Bring it up by the GoPro. You can see where the air enters. Got my meat hook out of her. Right there. That's where the air comes in and pressurizes, and then seals off against the donut. Then when the solenoid fires, it looks like it vents, clears it, and then lets the pressure go through to the nozzle, forcing it forward in the donut. And then nozzle moves forward, BB fires, nozzle cycle finishes, solenoid closes, pressure builds, donut comes back, solenoid returns, or nozzle returns. So you have a nice big meaty O-ring that puts a seal against it, so you're not just sealing thread. Not sure what else to say with this thing. It's a pretty straightforward design. I am happy with it. Oh, also this O-ring that goes around the donut, I think is part of what actually holds this guy in. Maybe not. That little air pin has a ring around it that goes in where the solenoid enters. There's a little ridge it catches in. But dang, this thing threads together nicely. Then you can see on the OD, if you want to say it that way, you have these indexing holes. You find these in your cylinder heads on an AEG. And let me grab this guy. You can see them right here, and that's where it meets up. Right, that guy. So when you go to put your engine back together, it goes in right here. Plug in 2-pin. It indexes right nice, so it doesn't slide around and it holds it in place. This part gets a little trippy, which is reassembly. Oh, let's talk about the PCB. Take that back up. You have a micro switch here, non-tactile, which means it has no response to it. You feel no click. You have your 5-pin JST connector, which goes to your fire control unit, which also we can talk about that, which I left sitting on the other side of the room. Guess we can talk about this stuff too, can't we? Wow, this video is going on 20 minutes. Okay. So, let's finish talking about this guy. Stay on topic. On the other side, you have a little a really neat little switch. I like this guy. It has a little flap that comes up, and whenever it gets pushed down, I'm going to assume that that's on. Which means, okay, we're out of, when it's off, you're in semi. When it goes on, it's telling the engine, okay, we have a high signal here, repeat the cycle as long as the trigger is high. So probably lots of if-else statements. I'm not too much of a programmer, so not entirely sure on that. And then here you have a, I don't even know what revision, revision 1 for Jack, fire control unit. I actually wish I could remember what revision it is on. Oh, PC just went to sleep. You guys can probably hear that earlier. But you have your 2-pin JST power connector, very common in the RC industry. The mating end for your 5-pin, and then a 2-pin GPIO, which is a general purpose input-output, which outputs a high signal whenever the trigger is held, which is good for tracer units, box magazines, stuff like that. Looks like some capacitors. I think those are capacitors. I could be wrong about that. Then, going from this guy, that back there, that 4-pin, 3 on the bottom, guess you can't see from that far away. Hold it up for you. Looks like a voltage regulator. Those things are cool. If it's what I think it is, it actually switches on and off really fast. That would mean it's a DC to DC converter though, which basically switches on and off so fast that you take voltage down, but you don't lose. They're highly efficient. There's almost no loss in them, which is just crazy. And then I'm pretty sure I see a diode on there, so you can, if you have a 9-volt or something on there, you can accidentally flip it backwards. You can accidentally reverse polarities and cook something. But I can't see if a trace is actually going that way. I believe it is. D15. From my experience with diodes, that is a D diode. Okay, and then you have VR1, VR2. So those are VRMs, voltage regulation modules. So those are voltage regulators. That's probably split phase. So they probably have one going from like might split some 7.4 volts, 12 volts, whatever you have on it. I think they built it for 7 volts, but it can take up to 12. I think. I'd have to look at the manual to give you a definite maximum input voltage, but I wouldn't go over 7.4. There's no need to. It probably takes it from 7.4 to like 3 volt 3 or 5 volt, which is what I'm going to bet that they're. Oh, that's a 2560 on there, I think. Okay. It's an Atmega processor. So, yeah, it's an Atmel Atmega processor, and I'm nerding out here right now. Like, when I can actually understand this stuff, guys, I get excited. It's an Atmel Atmega processor, which I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I'm almost 100% sure, and I can actually look right here. Actually, no, I can't, because that's a Uno controller, not a Mega 2560. That's an Atmel Atmega. Wish I knew what that was. I'll have to contact Polarstar on that. But that should be a 5-volt processor. So they are really beefy, and you can do a lot with them. 56 digital. If it's what I think it is, 56 digital, or 58. Yeah, 58, and 9 analog. And that means that they can drive this digital display. And not only that, but obviously they can drive the solenoid, the trigger, all of that. But they can also drive this analog device, which is your joystick. Which actually has, can it go down? It can go down at an angle. So they only use up, down, left, and right. And, N. But you can also go, no, maybe not. Yeah, so you can actuate both at the same time, which actuates the up, left, up, right, all of that fun stuff. Each corner, basically, actuates 2 buttons on the inside. And that allows you to have angular actuation. Okay. Looks like a 2-layer PCB. I don't see any traces crossing, that's impressive. I'd have to take off the sheathing and actually look at it, but, yeah, I'm not sure what else there is to say on this, guys. Polarstar did a great job on this. They're working on a new one, and I cannot wait to look at that. But, so far, guys, their design on this is really good. They did a great job on this. I'm not sure if they outsourced for that, but even if they did, they have 2 thumbs up from Polarstar Games. Dang, this has been a longer video than I thought it would be. So let's go ahead and put in your guide spring. And the fun part. This is the part that I'm gonna have to probably skip and edit. Misgot it. Okay. This part is difficult. Or it's tricky. You'd think I'd be better at this, but get that out of my way. It took me 45 minutes to do this my first time. Bear with me. There we go. Okay, so here's what you can do. Hold your trigger down with one thumb, like I'm doing here. I'm actually not sure how much you guys could see of what I was trying to show you, but at least you could hear what I was saying. That's what counts. Everybody's gonna think I'm a crazy nerd for getting excited over all that stuff, but guess what? That's what I am, crazy nerd. And you index it back together, thread backwards. If you tighten two opposing sides first, then you can just do this. And not have to hold the gearbox shell anymore. Down, down, down. Doesn't need to be overly tight, just tight enough. And that is your reassembled unit of Jack. This has been, I'm not going to do a putting it all back together part of this. But anyways, yeah, that is the complete, almost complete breakdown of my unit of Jack. I'm going to give it, right now, quite honestly, a 10 out of 10. I love this thing. It performs so well. It's very air efficient. If you have the money, $315 will get you one. You can turn just about any gun into a high-performance gun with little to no work on the gearbox. Minimal effort, I guess you could say. Tuning on the FCU is a little bit more intricate, but once you learn the basics, you're pretty much good to go. Alright guys, this has been Polarstar from Polarstar Games. Thanks for watching, and take it easy.